The advanced research facility nestled in the Rocky Mountains wasn't built with children in mind. Its stark white corridors and security checkpoints were designed for scientists and military personnel, not for a precocious 12-year-old girl who had turned the entire complex into her personal playground. But Zara Patel had a way of making any space her own, much to the equal amusement and exasperation of her father, Dr. Raj Patel, the facility's lead researcher. Zara sat cross-legged in her secret spot, a forgotten maintenance alcove she'd discovered during one of her many expeditions. Around her, old monitors flickered with security feeds from around the facility, while her tablet displayed complex code she'd written herself. She wasn't supposed to have access to the facility's systems, but Zara had never been good at following rules that got in the way of her curiosity. RRIA, show me what they're working on in Lab 3, she whispered to her self-programmed eye assistant. The security feed switched, revealing scientists studying a piece of metallic debris that seemed to hover above their testing platform. The artifact appears to be displaying unusual electromagnetic properties today. ARIA responded through Zara's earbuds. Energy readings are 23% higher than yesterday. Zara knew these weren't ordinary pieces of space debris, despite what the public had been told about last year's meteor shower. She'd decoded enough classified communications to know these were fragments of advanced technology, pieces of something that had fallen to Earth after what her father's reports called an incident in high orbit. The facility's klaxons suddenly blared to life, making Zara jump. Red warning lights began pulsing throughout the corridors. She quickly pulled up the external security feeds, and her breath caught in her throat. High above the mountain peaks, points of light were appearing in the night sky, too many to be stars, moving too purposefully to be satellites. RRIA, analyze those light patterns, Zara commanded, her fingers flying across her tablet screen as she accessed deeper levels of the facility's systems. Pattern matches recorded signatures from the orbital incident 14 months ago, ARIA reported. Zara, I believe these are the same vessels that were involved in the previous encounter. Through the monitors, Zara watched as the facility erupted into controlled chaos. Security teams rushed to their stations, scientists hurried to secure their research, and her father was quickly surrounded by military officials in the main control room. They're coming back for their technology, Zara realized, watching the alien ships descend through the atmosphere. But why now? Why here? She had always suspected there was more to the facility than just studying space debris. The security was too tight, the research too secretive. Now, watching the approaching ships, she understood. Her father and his team hadn't just been studying alien technology, they'd been reverse engineering it. The facility's massive blast doors began closing, sealing them off from the outside world. Zara could hear the heavy thrum of backup generators activating, powering up the facility's defensive systems. But something told her conventional defenses wouldn't be enough against visitors who could cross interstellar space. Through the external cameras, she watched as the first alien ship landed in the clearing beyond the facility's perimeter. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, its surface shifting like liquid metal under the moonlight. A seam appeared in its smooth hull, and Zara got her first look at the facility's uninvited guests. They emerged like living shadows, their bodies covered in what appeared to be constantly moving armor. They walked with an unsettling grace, their movements too precise to be human. Zara counted 6 of them in the first group, each carrying what she assumed were weapons. RIA, start recording everything, she whispered. And give me access to all facility systems, security, environmental, everything. Zara, that would violate 17 different security protocols, ARIA reminded her. And those aliens are probably violating a few protocols themselves, Zara countered. Please, ARIA. I need to be ready to help if things go wrong. After a moment's pause, her tablet lit up with dozens of new access points to the facility's systems. Zara smiled. She had programmed ARIA well, including the ability to bend rules in emergencies. The aliens had reached the facility's outer doors now. Zara watched as they deployed some kind of device against the heavy metal. The blast doors, designed to withstand explosives, simply melted away like ice under a blowtorch. Through the security feeds, she could see her father organizing an evacuation of the most sensitive research deeper into the facility. He looked worried but determined, the same expression he wore when tackling a particularly challenging problem in his lab. Dad. Zara whispered to herself, I promise I'll find a way to help. She began systematically testing the facility's systems, looking for anything that might be useful. Lights, ventilation, security doors, communications. Everything could be a potential tool in the right circumstances. While the adults prepared for conventional defense, Zara was already thinking about unconventional solutions. The first sounds of conflict reached her hiding spot. Shouting, the whine of energy weapons, the thunder of the facility's automated defenses. But Zara remained focused on her task, her mind racing with possibilities. The aliens might have advanced technology and superior weapons, but they had never faced a human child with access to an entire facility's worth of systems and absolutely nothing to lose. As she worked, Zara couldn't help but smile slightly. The aliens had probably prepared for every conventional defense the facility could muster. But how could they possibly prepare for the chaos a clever 12-year-old could cause? The invasion of Earth's most secret research facility had begun, but its defenders had a secret weapon of their own, a young girl whose greatest talents were causing trouble and thinking in ways that adults never could. Commander Vex of the Cethari Retrieval Force moved through the human facility with calculated precision, his crystalline armor adapting to the dim emergency lighting. Behind his faceless helmet, multiple eyes processed information from both visible and invisible spectrums. These humans had been studying Cethari technology for too long. Their primitive attempts at understanding it could not be allowed to continue. Secure all research personnel, he commanded through the neural link to his warriors. Any resistance should be met with non-lethal force. We need their knowledge intact. In her hidden alcove, Zara watched the alien commander through the security feeds. Unlike his soldiers, whose armor was a dull silver, it seemed to shimmer with an inner light. She noticed how it reacted to different frequencies of light, shifting and adapting like liquid metal. RIA run an analysis on their armor's response to electromagnetic frequencies. Zara whispered, her fingers dancing across her tablet. The AA began collecting data from multiple camera feeds, building a pattern of the aliens' technological vulnerabilities. The facility's security forces had already engaged the invaders, but their weapons seemed to have little effect. Energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against the alien armor, while conventional bullets were stopped by invisible force fields. Through her monitors, Zara watched as section after section of the facility fell under Cethari control. But she also noticed something interesting. Every time the facility's emergency sirens changed frequency, the aliens' movements became slightly erratic. Their armor would ripple in unusual patterns, and their coordinated movements would briefly falter. RIA, are you seeing this? Zara asked, replaying the footage. Their systems seem sensitive to certain sound frequencies. Confirmed, ARIA responded. Analysis suggests their armor's defensive capabilities are maintained through a complex harmonic field. Certain frequencies appear to create interference patterns. Zara smiled. It wasn't much, but it was a start. She began accessing the facility's environmental systems, preparing to test her theory. But first, she needed to make sure her father was safe. Through the cameras, she located him in the Quantum Research Lab, where he and other senior scientists were desperately trying to secure their most sensitive findings. The aliens were closing in on their position. "Warning," Eraya announced. 3 Sethari warriors approaching Quantum Lab through the East Corridor. 2 more accessing through Maintenance Shaft B7. Zara's heart raced. She couldn't let them take her father. With quick commands, she sealed several corridor doors, forcing the aliens to take a longer route. Then she accessed the lab's communication system. "Dad," she whispered through his private channel. "It's me. Don't react. There are aliens coming from both sides. Take the emergency shaft behind the particle accelerator. I'll keep them busy." Dr. Patel's expression didn't change, but she saw him slowly reach up and tap his earpiece twice, their old signal for acknowledgement. He casually moved toward the back of the lab, guiding his colleagues with him. Just as the aliens reached the lab's main entrance, Zara executed her first real counterattack. She activated the fire suppression system in the surrounding corridors, but not with water. The facility used a special foam designed to handle chemical fires. Within seconds, the corridors were filled with a dense, electrically conductive foam. The effect on the aliens was immediate and fascinating. Their armor began to spark and fluctuate, its adaptive properties disrupted by the foam's chemical composition. The warriors stumbled, their movements becoming clumsy as their systems tried to compensate. "Interesting," Zara muttered, making notes. "RIA, add electromagnetic conductivity to our list of potential vulnerabilities." Through her monitors, she watched her father and the other scientists escape through the emergency shaft. The aliens were too busy dealing with their malfunctioning armor to notice, but she knew this small victory wouldn't last long. Commander Vex's voice echoed through the facility's speakers, translated into multiple human languages. "Your resistance is futile. We have disabled your primary defense systems and communications. Surrender your research, and no harm will come to your people." Zara looked at her tablet, where she still had full access to every facility system. "Not all of them," she whispered. "You missed one very important system, me." She began accessing the facility's maintenance robots, normally used for cleaning and basic repairs. With a few quick modifications to their programming, she turned them into her own reconnaissance team. The small machines could move through maintenance tunnels and air ducts, giving her eyes and ears everywhere. Through them, she discovered something crucial. The aliens had set up some kind of command center in the main atrium, where they were building a device that hummed with the same energy signature as the artifacts her father had been studying. "They're not just here to stop our research," Zara realized. "They're looking for something specific." She zoomed one of her robot's cameras in on a holographic display the aliens were using. The images showed schematics of what looked like a larger version of the artifacts, some kind of advanced energy matrix. "RIA, can you decode any of that?" "Partially," the AI responded. "The device appears to be a quantum phase manipulator. Based on Dr. Patel's research notes, it could be used to alter the fundamental properties of matter and energy." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. No wonder the aliens were so determined to recover their technology. In the wrong hands, such a device could be devastating. But as she watched the aliens through her network of cameras and robots, she began to see patterns in their behavior. Despite their advanced technology, they were methodical to the point of predictability. They followed precise protocols, never deviating from their established procedures. They think like machines, Zara mused, which means they probably never expect anyone to think like a kid. She began formulating a plan. The aliens' technological superiority was based on order, precision, and predictability. But Zara had spent her entire life causing chaos in this facility, finding ways around rules and protocols. Maybe that was exactly what they needed right now. As she watched Commander Vex coordinate his forces with military precision, Zara started accessing every system she could control. Lights, sound, temperature, robots, security doors. Everything could be a weapon if used creatively enough. Oh, hey, remember that time I reprogrammed all the cleaning robots to play musical chairs? I recall the incident resulted in significant disruption to facility operations. ARIA responded. Your father was not pleased. Well, Zara said, cracking her knuckles as she prepared to cause the biggest disruption of her life, let's show these aliens what real chaos looks like. The invasion of Earth's most advanced research facility was about to face its most unexpected challenge. A 12-year-old girl with administrative access and a talent for creative mischief. The Sethari were about to learn why some of Earth's most dangerous weapons weren't found in any armory, but in the imagination of a child. Zara's first strike against the aliens started with something simple: music. Not just any music, but a very specific frequency pattern, disguised as a popular song, played through every speaker in the facility's east wing. The effect was instantaneous and spectacular. The Sethari warrior's armor began to vibrate in strange patterns, their normally fluid movements becoming jerky and uncoordinated. Through her cameras, Zara watched as the aliens tried to locate the source of the disruption, but she was already moving on to Phase 2. ARIA, initiate protocol chaos, she commanded, implementing a plan she'd originally designed as a birthday prank for her father. Every maintenance robot in the facility suddenly activated, each one programmed with a different erratic behavior pattern. Some spun in circles, spraying cleaning solution, others raced through the halls playing carnival music, and a few simply followed the aliens around, deliberately getting in their way. Commander Vex's voice crackled over the facility's communication system. What manner of defense is this? Identify yourself. Zara grinned, typing commands into her tablet. She had routed her voice through multiple speakers, making it impossible to trace. This is Earth's secret weapon, she announced, using ARIA to modify her voice to echo eerily through the halls. You really should have done better research before invading. The aliens' precise formations began to break down as they dealt with the chaos around them. Their armor, so effective against conventional weapons, seemed to have no defense against clinging solution and sound waves at exactly the right frequency to cause interference. Through her network of cameras, Zara noticed something fascinating. The aliens communicated through some kind of neural network, but it seemed to require a stable harmonic field to function properly. Every time she disrupted that field with her sonic attacks, their coordination suffered. RIA, analyze their communication patterns, she whispered. Find the frequency that causes maximum disruption. While the AA worked, Zara implemented the next phase of her plan. She had noticed how the alien's armor responded to changes in temperature, trying to maintain optimal conditions for its wearer. What would happen if those conditions kept changing randomly? She began cycling the facility's environmental controls, creating patches of extreme heat and cold throughout the corridors. The alien's armor started shifting frantically, trying to compensate for the rapid temperature changes. Some warriors found themselves stuck in sections where their armor had partially frozen, while others were forced to retreat from areas that had become too hot for their systems to handle. Commander Vex was not amused. "These juvenile tactics cannot defeat us," he announced, but Zara could hear uncertainty in his translated voice. "Really?" she replied through the facility's speakers. "Because it looks like they're working pretty well from here." She watched through the cameras as Vex's crystalline armor flashed with patterns she was beginning to recognize as signs of agitation. The commander barked orders to his warriors, demanding they overcome these primitive obstacles, but their usual precision was completely disrupted. "Zara, ARIA interrupted. I've detected a vulnerability in their neural network. Their communication system operates on a quantum frequency that's sensitive to specific harmonic patterns." "Perfect." Zara smiled. "Let's give them something to really worry about." She began broadcasting a complex pattern of sound waves throughout the facility, carefully tuned to interfere with the aliens' neural network. The effect was better than she could have hoped. The Sethari warriors suddenly couldn't coordinate their movements, bumping into each other and responding to commands with confusion and delay. But Zara's greatest weapon wasn't technology, it was imagination. She had spent years exploring every inch of this facility, finding all its quirks and hidden features. Now she used that knowledge to turn the entire building into a funhouse of tricks and traps. Pressure-sensitive floor panels activated randomly, causing sections of the corridor to shift and tilt. Maintenance doors opened and closed without warning, separating alien squadrons. The emergency lighting system created disorienting patterns that the aliens' enhanced visual systems couldn't process properly. Through it all, Zara kept moving her hidden command center, using maintenance tunnels and secret passages to stay ahead of any aliens who might be trying to track her system's access. She had learned long ago how to move through the facility unseen, a skill that was now proving invaluable. "Commander," she heard one of the warriors report, "we cannot maintain formation. Our systems are being affected by..." By what?" Vex demanded. "We don't know. Nothing in our combat protocols covers this type of resistance." Zara allowed herself a small laugh. Of course, their protocols didn't cover this. What military force would expect to be defeated by cleaning robots and sound waves? But she knew she couldn't keep this up forever. The aliens were adapting, albeit slowly, and she needed to find a way to actually drive them from the facility. That's when she remembered something her father had once told her about the artifacts they were studying. ARIA, access my father's research files on the quantum phase manipulator. What would happen if we created a feedback loop in its energy signature? Based on Dr. Patel's notes, such a feedback loop would create a cascading disruption in any similar technology within range. Zara looked at her monitors, focusing on the device the aliens were building in the atrium. If she could cause it to generate that feedback loop, it might disable their armor and weapons long enough for Earth's military forces to mount an effective counterattack. "Time for the grand final," she muttered, fingers flying across her tablet as she began accessing the facility's power grid. She would only get one chance at this, and timing would be crucial. As she worked, she broadcast one final message throughout the facility. "Commander Vex, I'm going to give you one chance to retreat. After that, things are going to get really interesting. You dare threaten the Sethari?" Vex responded, but Zara noticed his warriors were moving more cautiously now, clearly unnerved by their inability to counter her attacks. "I'm not threatening," Zara replied, allowing herself to sound exactly what she was, a child who had turned an alien invasion into her own personal game. "I'm promising. And you should really learn to take Earth's children seriously." She was about to show the aliens why sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the biggest weapons, but the one who knows how to turn everything into a tool for causing creative chaos. Zara's plan to create a feedback loop in the alien device required perfect timing and just the right amount of power. Too little would fail to create the disruption. Too much might cause an explosion that could harm everyone in the facility. She had to get it exactly right. ARIA, start routing emergency power to the Quantum Research Lab's grid, she commanded, watching the energy readings carefully. The facility's systems weren't designed for this kind of power manipulation, but Zara had learned how to push them beyond their normal limits. Commander Vex seemed to sense something was coming. Secure the phase manipulator, he ordered his warriors. Whatever this human child is planning, we cannot allow interference with the device. But Zara had already created too much chaos for them to maintain proper security. The warriors were scattered throughout the facility, dealing with her various distractions. Some were still trapped in temperature-controlled zones, others were fighting with persistent maintenance robots, and many were simply lost in the maze of corridors she had created with her control of the security doors. As she prepared for her final move, Zara noticed something on one of her monitors that made her heart skip. Her father and a group of scientists were making their way back toward the main lab through the maintenance tunnels. "Dad, what are you doing?" she whispered, then realized what they were planning. They were going to try to reach the quantum research equipment, probably hoping to prevent the aliens from taking it. It was exactly the kind of brave, foolish thing adults would think of. "RIA, patch me through to Dad's secure channel," she commanded. When the connection was made, she spoke quickly. "Dad, stay where you are. I have a plan, but I need everyone clear of the main lab and atrium." There was a pause. Then her father's voice came through, barely a whisper. "Zara, you're behind all this chaos." "Who else would think of using cleaning robots as weapons?" she replied. "Trust me, Dad. I figured out how to beat them, but you need to stay back. Please." Another pause then. "Be careful, sweetheart. Whatever you're planning, just be careful." When the facility's main lights finally came back on, they illuminated a scene that would have been impossible to explain to anyone who hadn't witnessed it. Cleaning robots were scattered everywhere, some still spinning in circles. Corridors were covered in cleaning solution, temperature control panels were smoking from overuse, and confused security teams were trying to make sense of how they had just watched an alien invasion force be defeated by what appeared to be a combination of janitorial equipment and sound waves. Zara emerged from her hidden command center to find her father waiting for her. Dr. Petal looked at his daughter with a mixture of pride, amazement, and the kind of exasperated affection that comes from raising a child who had just turned an entire research facility into her personal anti-alien defense system. "So," he said, trying to maintain a serious expression, "would you like to explain why there's a cleaning robot in the quantum lab playing the Macarena?" Zara grinned. "Would you believe it was a vital part of our planetary defense strategy?" Before he could respond, they were interrupted by the arrival of General Rivera, the facility's military commander. The stern-faced woman looked around at the chaos, then directly at Zara. "You're telling me," she said slowly, "that a 12-year-old girl just defeated an advanced alien invasion force using cleaning robots and reprogrammed environmental controls. Don't forget the strategic deployment of annoying sound frequencies," Zara added helpfully. "That was really important for disrupting their neural networks." To everyone's surprise, the general laughed. "Do you have any idea what this means for Earth's defense strategy? We've been so focused on matching their technology, we never considered that the key to defeating them might be thinking completely outside the box." In the days that followed, Zara found herself spending a lot of time explaining exactly how she had turned the facility's basic systems into an effective alien defense network. Military strategists were particularly interested in how she had identified and exploited the weaknesses in the Cetheri's advanced technology. The thing is, she explained during one briefing, their technology was too perfect, too organized. They didn't know how to handle chaos because their systems were designed to maintain order at all costs. Sometimes the best way to break something really advanced is to do something really simple that it never expected. The facility underwent some changes after the invasion. Security was upgraded, but in unusual ways. Zara found herself appointed as a special consultant on unconventional defense strategies. Her father joked that they had basically just made her pranks official. RIA was officially recognized as a valuable defense asset, though Zara made sure to keep some of their more creative system modifications a secret. Some things were better left off the official records, like exactly how they had managed to make all the doors in the facility play musical chairs with their security protocols. The Cetheri, for their part, seemed to have learned their lesson. Intelligence reports indicated that they had added a new chapter to their military protocols, specifically dealing with unexpected and illogical human defense strategies. There were even rumors that they had begun child-proofing their technology just in case. One evening, as Zara sat with her father in his lab, she watched him studying the now-defunct quantum phase manipulator that the aliens had left behind in their hasty retreat. "You know what's funny?" she said, spinning in her chair, which she still maintained was the best way to think. They came here thinking we couldn't understand their technology, but they didn't understand something way more important. "And what's that?" her father asked, looking up from his work. That sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes it's just having the imagination to use simple things in ways nobody ever thought of before. Dr. Patel smiled. "Is that your way of saying, I shouldn't be too upset about how you reprogrammed the coffee machines to join your robot army?" "They made excellent troops," Zara said solemnly. "Very brave. Especially the one that sacrificed itself spraying hot coffee at Commander Vex's squad." The facility slowly returned to normal, or at least as normal as it could be with Zara now officially authorized to think creatively about defense strategies. The cleaning robots were returned to their regular duties, though they occasionally still broke into synchronized dance routines when no one was looking. Earth's military began implementing what they called the Zara Protocol, the principle that sometimes the best defense against advanced technology was using simple systems in unexpected ways. Training programs started including exercises in creative problem-solving alongside traditional combat techniques. As for Zara, she continued to explore and experiment, though now with slightly more official approval. She maintained her network of facility monitors, keeping watch for any signs of returning aliens. Sometimes, late at night, she would sit in her command center with ARIA, planning new and interesting ways to use everyday systems to defend against extraordinary threats. "You know what, ARIA?" she said one night, watching the stars through the facility's external cameras. "I bet those aliens never thought their biggest problem on Earth would be a kid with access to the cleaning supplies." "Indeed," ARIA responded, "though I suspect the facility management would appreciate it if your future defense strategies required less cleanup afterward." Zara laughed, already thinking about new ways to turn simple things into amazing tools. After all, Earth might need defending again someday, and she wanted to be ready. Because sometimes the best defense isn't a powerful weapon or advanced technology. Sometimes it's just a child with imagination, courage, and access to a building's control systems. And somewhere out in space, in a massive alien warship, A Setharu commander was updating their invasion protocols with a new primary directive. Before invading any planet, check thoroughly for creative children with administrative access. The end.